Hey everybody, welcome to another awesome episode of the MV Power Hour, starring me, Ronnie P, and of course, Giles Tiger Thomas. Should I still keep calling you Sir Giles? You're not actually a knight, are you?
Lord,
okay, Lord Tiger. And joining us, because we could not have this discussion today properly without him, the Boston Mass, Jose Raymond. What's up, Jose?
Hey. Wait, what's Ronnie P?
Ronnie P? I don't know, I just like to rhyme it.
Is your middle name Paul?
No, it's Alan, actually, but that doesn't sound as cool. Me, Ronnie P. But the 212 Mount Rushmore, I think I've got it finalized. Tell me if you guys have any problem with this one. It's going to be, I have David Henry, Kevin English, Flex Lewis, and Jose Raymond. 4 faces in stone on the side of the mountain.
What about Sean Clarita?
Maybe it's like we're going to a second mountain sometime in the future, but yeah, come on, guys.
I would have Kevin English out and Eduardo Correa in. Sorry.
What about you? Would you agree with that, Jose? Kick out Kevin and put in Eduardo?
No, I'd have them both.
And I'd have Clarita?
And I definitely have a Clarita.
Can we have more than 4 on Mount Rushmore?
Yes, we can have as many as we want.
Entire Mount Rushmore. All right, so the topic today is the future of the 212 division. Is it in jeopardy? Is it in trouble? Because 212 division was built up over many years on the sweat, blood, and tears and backs of men like Jose, men like Kevin English, David Henry, Eduardo Correa, Guy Cisternino. Help me out, Jose. A few more of your peers back in those days.
Tons of them. Charles Linston, even Mark Dugdale. So physique like that, we probably wouldn't have seen much of in the open, made incredible strides in the 212s. And you could even say Bonac, you could say Adi. Who knows what Adi would have done had there not been 212s. Flex. What would Flex have had to do? Come out and just we have no idea what would have happened. His conditioning and his everything he has would have eventually broken into the open, but how long would that have taken?
His first pro show, it was 188 pounds.
Right. As soon as that 202 came along, because Flex turned a pro at the 2007 British Finals, and it was like, okay, not many light heavyweights win the overall on the pro card of the British. There's only one a year being given at the UK. So when the 202 class came along, it was almost like he campaigned for it himself. It just came along just at the right time. It was such perfect timing.
Yeah. So the reason I'm saying it's in trouble now, and a lot of people are pointing this out, is because the best 212s are leaving the division, or at least they're doing double duty with the open. So, the days where Flex Lewis stayed in the division, basically out of obligation to build the division, those are over. Now we have Derek Lunsford. He only held the title 1 year. He moved right on to the open, went to Olympia, took second. So it was a smart move. We have Sean Clarita did the Legion last year. He won that. He's doing the Arnold Classic in a few weeks, open. Who else is leaving? Kamal, another 212 Olympia champion. He's already said, never doing another 212 show again. Everything from now on until however long he's got left, a year, 2, 3 years, until he decides to hang it up, open only. So we don't have that loyalty to the division anymore, and we don't have the star power. We have awesome athletes, I'm sure, but we don't have star power in terms of guys who are staying in that division strictly to build that division. Jose, what do you think?
Well, I think the years with myself and Flex and David and Kevin, we all assumed that we wouldn't get a fair shake in doing the open. I remember back in 2013 when I won the New York Pro, I said to Steve, I already won the 212. I want to do the open in Toronto. And he was like, nah. And I'm like, why not? And he said, well, you going to beat Del Rosa? I'm like, maybe. Yeah. You're going to beat this guy? You're going to beat that guy? And Steve being the head judge of that show, I was like, all right, you know what? You basically told me not to do it. So I went and did 212. I think I would have done very well. It wasn't until I won the Phoenix 212 in 2014. And then I won the Arnold in 2015. And then I was in Prague and I won the 212 in Prague. And Steve Kuklo said to me, like, hey, are you doing Phoenix next week? And I'm like, you know what? It's Dusty's pro debut. And I told him I would do it. But I already won the 212 last year. I go, I'm going to do the Open with Dusty. And Steve's like, yeah, I'm going to do it too. So I did it more as just something fun to do. And lo and behold, I arguably won the show. I came in second to Lucas Osladil. And then it opened my eyes like, you know what? When judged fairly, we can do a lot of damage in these open shows. And go ahead.
Sorry, was the result from that show? Did that give you the confidence to go and do the Ferrigno?
Yes, yeah, it definitely did. It just made me come to a realization that at that stage of my career, when I was at my all-time best, I could stand with anyone. You know, it wasn't a height and weight thing. It was a physique thing. And I had a shit ton of muscle on me for my height. So I wasn't going to be outsized. I was only going to be out-heighted. And it made me realize, you know, I can compete with anyone. And so could obviously David. And Eduardo placed top 5 at a Flex Pro. It was loaded. And, you know, in Flex placed top 5 at a show in Spain.
Two.
Yeah.
He did the Mr. Europe, which I was at. That was in Madrid. And then he did the Arnold, the first ever Arnold Classic outside of America, the Arnold Europe in 2011.
And he was top 5 there as well, right?
And was he 4th place? I think Hide was 5th. Dexter was 2nd. Victor was 1st. And I forget who was 3rd. Was it Johnny Jackson or something like that? I can't remember now.
Probably.
But he looked good. Looked really good. And he was only about, I think he said at the Mr. Europe show, he was Neil filled him out to 206. And like Ronnie Raquel won that one. Rooney was 2nd. Robert Pietroquix was 3rd. And Flex was 3rd. Pietroquix was 4th. I think Tony Freeman was 5th. But, I mean, from the back, he was smoking everyone.
Yeah. What a memory. Man. Well, you know, this last Olympia, I think, probably did even more damage to the idea of continuing the 212 because, like Jose said, a lot of the 212 guys didn't think they would ever get a fair shake at the Olympia Open because, the Rami and these guys are so much taller, they're so much wider, you're going to get overlooked. And here we had 2 guys who were, you know, under 5'7", under 5'6", 2 shorter guys, lighter compared to, you know, 290 pounds, Andrew Jack and Rami. It didn't matter. These are the 2 best bodybuilders in the world. So I feel like a lot of 212 competitors saw that and think, maybe I would have a chance. Maybe I don't have to be 5'11", 290 to beat guys who are 5'11", 290.
Right. The problem here is there's a very select group of guys that can compete and do well in the Open. You know, you might have 3 or 4 of them right now that could really do anything in the Open. You know, obviously, when you say Derek isn't a 212, and he wasn't the last few years. He shouldn't have been. You know, I'd seen him 4 weeks out from the Olympia, and he looked incredible, only to lose a ton of size to come down to 212. So he's not a true 212. See, neither was Bonac. And Hadi was struggling to make 212 as well. So those guys, you can't really say, oh, because of them, they shouldn't have a 212. There's only the few elite that can compete in the Open. And then you're going to have, you know, hundreds of 212 guys that can't. So if you got rid of the 212, you're going to lose hundreds of IFBB memberships because what the hell are they going to do? It's I think it's a moot point to even consider getting rid of the 212.
Right. I just talked to Lunsford. That interview just went up. If you guys haven't watched it, please go back and watch it. But the one thing I said that I was worried would happen, is basically what you just said. In the years before there was a lighter weight division, you had all these guys turning pros in the lighter weight classes, lightweight, middleweight, light heavyweight. And a lot of them either never even bothered to compete because they thought they'd have no chance, or they'd compete once and get smoked, and that would be the end of them. So we had a lot of guys turning pro who never really did much as pros, either intentionally or because that's the way it shook out. But if we get rid of 212, we're going to have a lot of these pros with really nowhere to go because, like you said, not everyone's going to be able to do what a Derek Lunsford or Hyde Chupine can do, or Bonac. Very few, actually.
Back in the day, there was a few light heavyweights that did okay. Like you had guys like John Sherman, John Whitsett, these kind of guys that were making, getting probably second call out, but there was no guys really doing well, do you know what I mean, that were turning pro as light heavyweights. Middleweight and below, I can't think of a single off the top of my head. I mean, Marvin Ward, there was a guy, do you know what I mean, that probably would have done well as an open because he was kind of like a bit Clarida-like as well in terms of his height and his frame. But I think the whole problem was when Clarida did so well at the Legion because like Jose was doing open shows, Flex was doing open shows, but it wasn't really getting much attention because they weren't coming in and winning these shows. They were coming close, but they weren't. So I think when Clarida did the Legion and won it so clearly against guys that weren't 200, 210, they're like 250, 270, Sergio and Regan, I think that's what started it. I think that's what started this conversation. And I don't think they will get rid of the 212, but I think they've made themselves a bit of a problem that the prize money will never be upped because those top 5 guys that know they can, the top 5 212 guys that know they can jump in the open and do well, are just going to do that as well as 212 shows. Like Carida's probably just going to go do open shows and then just keep defending his 212 title. But I don't think there's any good reason for the promoters or anything now. There's no pressure on them to increase the prize money.
But they've had 10 years to do so, and they never did anyway. So I don't think that the prize money is an issue. I think I'm, for one reason, never turned pro, never took my pro card, because there was nowhere for me to compete. I didn't take it until there was somewhere for me to compete. So that just tells you how many other people, I'm sure, and I was one of the best in my division back then, as an amateur. Imagine the guys that were coming in behind me or in lighter weight class. They had nowhere to go. So you're going to, as a business decision, I think it would be crazy for the IFBB to remove it. Because like I said, you probably lose somewhere around 100 pro cards. People that just wouldn't bother buying a pro card.
Jose, what age were you when you did your first 202 show?
34.
Wow.
34. So if the 212, the 202 had been around like the entire time you were competing, you could have been doing 202 shows at what age? When was the first time you're eligible for your pro card as like a middleweight?
As a welterweight, I won in 05. I was 28. 128. Yeah. But I had an unconventional path too, because I was still having these dreams of being a natural pro, and maybe I would have changed my mind sooner had I had a pro division to compete in. But yeah, I was 34 years old when I started. Had there been a pro division for me, I might have went pro earlier. And who knows?
Well, let me ask you this, Jose, because I know I watched you and Flex and a few of the other guys, Eduardo. I watched you guys really make an effort to build that division. You traveled all over the world. You did all these shows. You fought to have the finals on the main stage, the Olympia instead of the Expo. You talked about the prize money. I don't see that sort of, I don't know if you want to call it activism. I just don't see that the guys and anyone in the 212 really championing the division and trying to make it more prestigious or bring it up to the level of the open anymore. Do you?
No, because it's a different time. You know, we were the original group of guys that collectively came together, and there were little things like, listen, we should get a press conference. We should get, you know, we should be on the main stage. We should get a tracksuit. We should get paid. And those were the things that, and we should get contracts. We should get magazine deals. We should get guest posings. And sure enough, we did. You know, I never paid for an out-of-country competition in my career. Every one of those, Korea, Prague, any one of those, were paid for by the promoters. And we were blessed to have that deal, where, you know, that wouldn't have happened had there been no 212. You know, we worked hard as a unit to be established and create that situation where we were making money and in traveling and recognized as great bodybuilders, not just great little bodybuilders.
Yeah. What about the Arnold Classic situation? It was only held at the Arnold, I think, for 5 years. I think you're one of only 5 Arnold Classic 212 champions, and it was discontinued. You know, they discontinued women's bodybuilding even before that. And they, you know, the Arnold's not the same. They don't have to have every division like the Olympia does, or a lot of the pro shows. But do you ever see, Jose, do you ever see it coming back to the Arnold?
No. I think Arnold's prejudice of short people. I think he's, I just remember him being backstage and walking out. He was about to, well, we were all lined up, and he was about to walk out and present something. And I just remember him kind of looking at us like we were disgusting, or like, you know, like these short, thick, you know, just, I remember him looking at us like we were circus animals or something, you know? Like, and I think Zane Watson went up to him to do something. And he was like, don't touch me. Because he had a suit on and we had all our tan on. And I just remember him not getting a pleasant feeling of him just looking at us, you know? I may have been misreading it, but I just don't think he was a fan of the short, thick look, you know? But, you know, he loves that tall, Cedric look, and we're everything but that.
Yeah. I mean, he made a point when he was giving Kai the award that year. I think was it the last year Kai won? 2016, when he on stage, he said, I wanted Cedric to win. I like Cedric because he's better than yours. Right. So yeah, he doesn't give a fuck. He says,
you like that short, quick look, especially when it starts to affect the midsection, you know?
Well, yeah. So, Giles, what are you checking your
I'm just writing something down. I've got 3 questions I want to ask Jose. Just carry on talking. I'm just going to write them down before they leave my mind.
No, go for it. I'm all set.
So I'm just thinking of the third one now, so carry on.
I would love for them to bring back the 212. I don't know if it was a financial thing. It clearly isn't, because they added another $100,000 or $200,000 to the Open. I think someone had said something that none of the top 212 guys wanted to compete there.
Right.
And by that, they meant Flex. He was the only one who was not competing at the Arnold. You know, me, Eduardo, Hide, David, we all did it every year.
Yeah.
And I just don't get it. There was a huge fan base for it. I don't get it.
Well, I remember exactly when that happened. And I think their response was the guys weren't doing it, but it was an invitation only show. And it's not like a ton of guys were invited and said no. I think Flex was the only one they ever really invited that turned it down during that era. So,
right.
Yeah, it doesn't add up. Giles, you ready?
Yep, I've got 4 now.
Oh, God.
I've got specific 212 targeted questions I want to ask Jose. Now, I did ask you this one before, but do you think to keep the class interesting and maybe keep it evolving, let me do it with certain classes, with adding certain things and taking certain things away, or, you know, just for the sake of change? We have spoken about this before. What about the idea of changing it to 222?
222?
No, I would much prefer they go back to 202. It's not 222 is that's Derek Hunsford.
Yeah.
that's Hottie. Those are the two best in the world. That makes no sense at all. I think
they're top two now. Yeah, the top two.
Yeah. I think 202 is exactly where it should have stayed. I think, looking back, the star power of Lex Lewis and everything. Listen, I don't think it's a coincidence that I beat Flex in 2011, and by 2012, it was up to 212. From 202 to 212. Giving him 10 pounds to reign supreme for 7 years straight. I think if it stayed at 202, I would have beaten him more than he beat me.
So how did that decision come around, do you know, that from changing it from 202 to 212? What was the main reason? Who was coming forward saying we want this?
I don't know. Where, and I'm kind of just busting balls when I say it's because of Flex. But, he was probably the one most well known for struggling to make the weight cut.
Yeah.
I don't know where that came from, but I wish like hell it had stayed there.
I don't remember anybody else complaining, saying, "Oh, this weight cap 202 is terrible. I don't remember that. Like I hear classic guys complaining about it, but I don't recall that.
I know one year Eduardo really struggled at the Olympia, and then he had to weigh in naked, and they held the towel over him, and Steve was really pissed that Chris didn't make sure he was on target because he was like 2 to 3 pounds off.
Wow.
And then who's a kid from New Jersey and New York, a cop. Remember, he didn't make weight, and they gave him an hour, and he came back at the Olympia, and he made weight. Wow. He was really good. Black kid. New York cop. Is awesome. Anyway, he left and took a dump and came back and made weight.
See, what's the most extreme thing you've heard for guys to like, oh shit, you've got 2 hours to lose 3 pounds? What's the most extreme kind of measures you've ever heard of guys that are, needing to do that?
Me, this was at the USA's. I went and my brother's wife went and got me an enema, stuck that enema up there, and then I put a hoodie on. I was running out in Vegas in the hot summer sun, and came back, got rid of the enema, and made weight.
We want graphic detail, please. Walk us through.
Yeah, it was pretty nasty. But that was 23 years ago.
Wow.
Yeah. But I never had to do anything that drastic. Plus, I was way more prepared. As a pro, I would make sure that I just didn't eat hours leading up to the weigh-in.
Is it stressful, obviously, knowing you've got to make weight? Because I remember reading that one article in MD years ago, the Per Bernal pictures, and I remember reading about what you did to make 202, and it was like 1 chicken breast a day, and the rest was just water. And it sounded like really, really stressful, and also a little bit dangerous as well.
Yeah, I never did anything crazy like take diuretics. I wrestled in high school and college, so I knew how to manipulate my weight pretty safely. But yeah, I would just not eat. I would do cardio if need be. I would have regularly I'd be on 8 or 9 ounces of protein. I would have just like 2 ounces and just salad and no carbs for days on end until weigh-in.
How do you function? I mean, surely if you've got to train and do cardio and forget the stress mentally. I can imagine that physically that's really hard to do.
Yeah, there was a lot of, just sleeping. I would sleep, get up, do cardio, go back, eat a tiny bit and sleep again. It's not like I was running a space shuttle or something. I didn't have to have much brain power. I just had to sleep and get the weight out of me. So it wasn't as difficult as it might be for some people. And being as short as I am, I think my body, I can get rid of weight easier than someone like Eduardo, who's 3 or 4 inches taller than me.
You look a bit different. Have you started dieting?
No, but I'm zero libido.
He grew his hair back. He's got hair again. That's what it is.
You've had Botox, mate.
What's that?
Botox.
No Botox. Huh?
No, you do. You look. I sometimes when people change, they look visually different. Like you look like you've started a diet or something. I mean, I'm just thinking around this Masters Olympia thing, and my brain's ticking over while you're talking.
Yeah, I wish. No, I have zero anabolics in me for like 4 months now.
Yourself a bodybuilder?
Like no TRT, nothing. I'm trying to stimulate fertility and see if that works. So my whole look looks different. I don't have anabolic look at all.
I'm not saying you look rough before, but you look a lot better, mate. You look a lot healthier and
at the Olympia, everyone was saying that to me. Yeah. You look so much younger. I'm like, yeah. Oh, it's good. I'll stay off that shit.
You're more like a junior than a Masters now.
Yeah. I wish, man. If I was pain-free, I would love to compete.
Are you still getting pain from the hips and everything? Or
everything, shoulders. Wow. And it increased like tenfold when I stopped TRT.
Wow. Why no TRT? I'm just curious.
Why not? Because my doctor doesn't want me on it. When you take any shit, your body stops producing.
Right.
So I'm trying to do everything I can to get myself back to some sort of viable fertility.
Shouldn't you be shotgunning HCG?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, my doctor wanted to start with just clomiphene, and that's been a few months now. And the next step is HCG, HMG.
Yeah.
What about things like ZMA, D-aspartic acid, horny goat weed, stuff to sort of stimulate your own natural test? Do they, with a doctor, or you see that as a good idea when you're trying to be fertile?
I'm not opposed to that. I'm just going by what my doctor's having me do right now. So I'm seeing a fertility specialist, and now we'll see what happens. But that's definitely, I know what you mean. Why my head's smaller, my face is smaller.
Like around your face, you look like I'm not saying you look like you're a bit bloated last time I saw you. Now it looks all you look healthy, mate. You look really, really good.
Yeah, thank you. That's a good thing. I want to be healthy.
I feel, Jose, like you wanted kids for a long time, but you weren't with the woman that you wanted to have kids with until now.
Yeah, it just never worked. So, yeah, I would love to try now.
Yeah.
And if it's possible.
You got those amazing nephews out in LA.
Yeah, exactly. Dude, you got to see my nephew, Cruz. He is peeled.
Yeah.
Was he?
Yeah, he just turned 14 last month.
Is that Tito's kid?
Yeah. And he eat fatly. So can you imagine the genetics on these kids?
Yeah. Wow, that's cool.
He's 5'8", 165, shredded.
14 years old. Jeez.
Yeah. And he can squat, rock bottom, 275 for reps. And oof, he's a strong little dude. And I mean, he's taller than Tito already.
Like Chad Nichols' kids, isn't it? They're all jacked as hell.
Yeah, that's a different level, dude. Yeah. One of them's benching 500 pounds in high school.
Yeah.
Teenager.
In high school. That's just crazy.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'll ask you, in a world where Sean Clarita wins the Arnold Classic, what does that do to the 212 division? If he's good enough to win the Arnold Classic and beat
that's bad.
Ender Jacks, Nick Walker, Samson Dauda, William Bonac. Again, I know he's the elite. He's the best of the 212s.
Sign the death certificate for the 212. If that, I will sure win, but if
you look at it that way,
the end of it. No, it's
John is an anomaly. He is special. He's one of the most greatest physiques ever of any division ever. Like when you look at that physique in a photo, he's so well put together, so balanced, so hard, so conditioned. And he's got it all. Why can't he win? Because every other people that you just named doing this Arnold Classic, you can pick out a weakness. And Sean, you cannot. The only weakness is he's short.
Right.
So why win? We're not winning that.
That's my issue. If he wins, I think that's it for the 212. I think they're just, if anything,
because no one else looks like Sean. You'd still have to have the 212. It's just he's that much better. He is. There's nobody like Sean.
Yeah, but they might be looking for an excuse. You don't know. I don't know.
If they're looking for an excuse, then they'll get rid of it. Because they don't need an excuse. They can just get rid of it.
Well, the IPB has never gotten rid of a division, have they? I mean, they've gotten rid of it at the Olympia level, but even when, so women's bodybuilding was gone from the Olympia, there was no Ms. Olympia for a few years, but there were still scattered pro shows for female bodybuilders, I believe. But they've never taken a division away. I don't. They just keep adding. Am I right?
They probably never took the female bodybuilding away complete because they didn't want to start and see another federation jump on it. And you know what I mean? I personally thought
I would not be a good business decision. And bodybuilding is a business. So you would lose all those guys from bantam to light heavy that apply and buy a pro card every year. Not just in the States, but worldwide. Why would they compete?
You're saying Sean's an anomaly, but he's not the only 212 that's done well. Kamal, Angel Calderon, I was out in Spain doing the live stream when he won it. You know, what's the other half doing well here?
This is more of a statement about the Open than it is 212. If they, instead of getting rid of the 212, why don't these Open guys come and shake?
It's true.
Yeah, good point. Well, why don't these Open guys do more shows? You know, the show that Angel Calderon won, he didn't beat any names. He beat some local European guys that are pretty good.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
He didn't beat Kuklo. He didn't beat, the top guy, any top 10 Olympia guys. You know, Clarita's the only one that can beat a top 10 Olympia guy. Come on.
Do you think the judging is more fair now? Because, I mean, really, you've got guys, like I said, Lunsford and Haddy top 2. I don't know whether we would have seen that 5 years ago or 10 years ago.
You wouldn't have, because you had Phil, Roden, Dennis Wolf, Steve Jackson. You're talking Hall of Famers. You wouldn't. Today, we don't have those guys. State of open bodybuilding is wide open. So why aren't we talking about open bodybuilding rather than getting rid of the 212?
Let's get rid of open.
Yeah.
All right. Can I ask a question? I want to put it to both of you. Given that, I mean, end of the day, look at what some guys are going through in Classic and 212 to make weight, that struggle to make weight. Do you think there's an argument, say, for taking away the weight class and bringing a height classic, 5'5" and under? What's your thoughts?
I think if we do that, you're not going to see the crisp condition that we're used to seeing in the Classic. Because guys they're just not going to push. They're like, I look good here and look really good here. When really they should drop 5-6 pounds and they'd be dynamite.
No, I mean for taking the 212 away and actually bringing it back as an actual height class, because then they don't have to worry about making weight.
Yeah, again, you're not going to have that stellar condition again.
Well, no. I mean, what about Sean Clarita? He doesn't have to worry about making weight.
He's an anomaly.
Yeah, but he's not the only one that struggles to make weight. There's guys there that make weight comfortably at like Kerith or Kamal. You know, I mean, there was a few years, only this last year, that he struggled to make weight. I mean, I don't think making weight is an argument for the only reason they're coming in condition.
No, I mean, you could make an argument for a height class, but where do you cut it?
I think 5'5" and under.
5'5". There you go. Kamal's 5'6".
So everyone over 5'5".
What's Lewis was 5'6".
Everybody over 5'5" would have to go open, Giles?
Well, yeah. Because I was thinking Branch Warren and Dexter Jackson were 5'6", and they were really good, very good open pros. And I think anyone below that never really did well, or you could argue had a fair shake in the open. But I think I've just got 5'5", because I think the average height would be 5'4" and under them. But I think personally, I think 5'5" and under, because I'm just thinking about the average height. You have like Zane Watson, you like George Peterson at 5'8", but I mean that's very, very rare that you get a good 212 that was over 5'7", say.
I wouldn't go for that. I don't like this idea.
It's a terrible idea, Josh. I like where it is.
But no high class.
I like where it is. I really do. And if anything, I would say drop it to 202. That's the only change I would make. Yeah. I like where it is. I think we've created a lot of great guys. A lot of phenomenal competitors have come from that division, are continuing to go into the division and improve. Someone mentioned, I think I was watching on Fuad, and he used the term of farm league. And that's a great way to look at it. You know, some of these guys need years and years and years of training and competing to get better. You know, Sean Clarita is not Sean Clarita today because he was that way 10 years ago. Sean had been just competing and slowly making improvements until he could finally win a 212 show. And then he was to the point where he was top 3 at the Olympia. And then he finally won the Olympia. And then he went on to win an open show. It takes time to improve at that level. If you just got rid of it, these guys wouldn't have the motivation to keep coming back and competing. Oh, I did the Toronto Pro. I came at 15. That really inspired me to go on and do, Indy the next year. No, they need somewhere to compete and to inspire themselves and others to keep going.
I think a good argument as well against not upping the prize money over the last few years of the 212. Would we necessarily have seen Hadi, Bonac, and Derek Lunsford, say 3 examples? Would they have actually jumped over to the Open? I mean, they could have held it. If they were getting like 100, 150K, 200K first prize at Olympia, maybe they would have just held that body weight. I mean, what do you think?
I think they were all holding themselves back seriously. And I think they knew at a certain point, I looked better a month ago. The hell am I doing? I think eventually they would have gone on. As short as they are, they're still a lot taller than me and Sean. Bonac is 5'5.5", about the same height as Derek, 5'5.5", 5'6". Hadi's about that same height. They're a good 2.5 to 3 inches taller than me. So they struggled really mightily to make that weight.
What's the most extreme case of a guy being ready at, say, the highest body weight for the 212? Like, we know that Derek, obviously what he proved at Olympia, coming on stage at 230, it's obvious that guy could have been probably 225 the year before. What's the most extreme case? Like say, like in the classic, Neil Perry said, I'm ready at 235. I've got to be on stage at 215. Like, what's the most extreme case of guys that are ready at a certain level, then had to really drop to really extreme methods to kind of get?
I'm going to say Derek. So a few years ago, we were at the opening of Carbon Culture down in Tennessee, and I saw Derek in the gym training, and he was posing for me. His quads were huge and striated. His lats were fully striated when he pulled them back. He was like 242, 244. And this was like, I want to say a month and a half, 2 months from the Olympia. And they're like, dude, all you need to drop is 10 pounds and you're ready. And he would have been 234, it's that. And then I saw him at the Olympia and he looked nothing like that. His legs were straight out and down.
It was disappointing.
It was very disappointing. And I felt bad for him because, he lost a ton of size in his legs and it just didn't look like the same guy.
What about Kevin English? Didn't he used to be like 230 a week or two out for having to be 202 at the show?
I think those were tall tales. Kevin looked 230. Yeah. He may have been in his full off season 240, something like that. But coming down for 202, he might have been 215 a few days out. But he was also a wrestler, and he knew how to manipulate his body. And no, I think a lot of those stories, same as with Flex, I don't think Flex struggled nearly as hard as people think. He certainly couldn't go crazy in the off season and try to grow to 250, but he didn't struggle. I weighed in with him every time. I watched him weigh in. He never weighed in more than me. We weighed the same every time, or we're within a half a pound of each other. So
I remember Bob Chick saying when we were talking about Flex Lewis going into the Open, and he said, yeah, he says, and I really kind of took a double take because he said, oh yeah, I mean, Flex is an Open. He said, what would he be on stage as an Open? 218? And I went, no, I said he'd be more than that. He'd be 225, 230, surely. And he went, no, I think you'll be surprised, Joe.
I mean, he might try to be 230, but I don't advise that. As good and as great as he looked at 211, I think his last Olympia, he said he was 207 on stage.
Wow.
Well, okay.
He had weighed in at 211 and change, So add 10 pounds to that, that's 217, 218.
Yeah, but what do you think he was by the time he hit the stage? Because some guys, I remember that, but in 2019, he weighed in, and then by the time he hit the stage, he said his weight dropped. He said he was fussed up, and he said trying to fill out, and his weight was dropping. Whereas some guys, they just go within a couple of days. I think like Kevin English used to, didn't they?
I think for the majority of us that looked our best on stage, we always weighed less than the actual weigh-in. Wow. Because, there are certain things that you don't do before weigh-ins that you do the night before a show. It's not smart to take diuretics on Wednesday for a show that's Saturday morning,
True. I mean, I think the assumption was a lot of guys did that to make weight.
Nah, I didn't know of any that did. I never certainly did. Especially because we used to weigh in on Wednesday for the 212 Olympia.
Right.
And, it wouldn't be smart. There's a million different things you can do to lose weight than diuretics. But yeah, to answer your question, that was always my estimate. I would have thought if Flex did compete in the Open, it would have been somewhere of 218 to 220. I don't believe that Derek was on stage at 230 because he had just said that if he put on 5 or 6 pounds, he would be somewhere like 235 to 237 on stage. So yeah, I would think Derek was more in the area of 225 to 226, which is massive.
Yeah.
In unbelievable condition. Everything was great. I'm excited for him to age. I think he's still under 30. He's 29 years old. And what's he going to look like at 33? And still young.
Amazing.
The shoulder roundness and hardness in the pecs and keeping that midsection, he could win a good amount in a row.
Do you remember when Leela Brada put on 4 pounds between the 1990 and 1991 Olympia and the difference it made to his weight? That was 4 pounds.
Yeah. Right? And he's about the same height as Derek.
Yeah.
Not nearly as wide. Derek is like so crazy.
It's clavicles. Oof.
Yeah.
Guys, I've suggested 2 ideas you hated, the 222 and the height class. I'm going to throw you a third now.
Okay.
Make it
some promoters have the discretion to do best posing award, or I can't think of any of it. Just best posing, isn't it really?
Yep.
Or most muscular award or something like that. What about an overall just purely for that show between the 212 and the Open, like they used to do in the Arnold and Franco days?
I would love it. And I would even take it a step further and throw in the classic guy.
Wow.
Overall physique champion, have the crowd vote and the judges vote.
Wow.
I'll do a vote for Bumstead. Come on now.
Well, Bumstead would rightfully so is the greatest physique on the planet.
I think so.
Yeah, and I think he would win. If there was an overall, he would win. Certainly if the crowd voted. But I'm with you on that one, Giles. I would love to see that. if I were a promoter, I would do just that. I would say, this is just for fun. And I'm going to throw in $1,000 to this overall winner or whatever that number may be. Then let's do it. Let's vote. And we'll let the crowd vote.
Would you get 212 coming to that show purely to sort of like, okay, I'm not jumping in an open show, but, I might get the chance to go up against the overall guy and the classic guy and beat him here. What do you think, Ron?
Would they do that just for that reason?
No, I was just saying, what do you think of the idea of doing like that overall, a particular show to attract a certain level of competitors? Some competitors might want to do that. What do you think?
I don't know if it would matter to the competitors. I think the crowd would eat it up. I would love to see that. I would have loved to have seen Hottie, Sean, and Bumstead have a little short judging round and a pose down.
It wouldn't happen. It wouldn't happen. Well, that's so. Can you think of a pro show you've been to, Ron, where the classic or the 212 probably would have won the overall had there been one?
Not off the top of my head, but I'm sure there have been more than a couple. Because I've been to shows where the open winner was like, and the 212 winner was fantastic, or the classic winner was fantastic. The show's open winners aren't always incredible at every single show. So, yeah, there would have been times when that would have been worked out well for the classic guy or the 212 guy.
Trying to think of one there.
Yeah, we'd have to. Surprised because you get that crazy memory, but still.
Well, when Keon and George, when those guys were doing classic, they could take out a lot of 212 and open bodybuilders.
100%.
I think Keon has the ability to be the next Clarita. Like, go on a tear, come in shape, win the 212 Olympia, and then he could go, if he's in Clarita's condition, that's an open show winner all day long.
Oh, hell yeah.
He could win any show he wants to do if he has Clarita's condition.
Yeah, that's a big F.
What? Can I ask you one final question? Now, given the success of the 212 guys, like Clarita and all these other 212 guys doing open shows, how do you think if Kamal jumped to the Masters Olympia in the open, how do you think he would do?
Well, if there's any real money in it, he will do it.
No,
but I mean, who? I mean,
to win.
How do you think he would do?
He would win. It depends on what the cutoff is. If it's
45.
It win.
What about Victor Martinez?
Or Victor hasn't competed in a couple of years.
No, I'm trying to think of who else could possibly beat Kamal, and that's one of the few that comes to mind. Victor's pretty damn good.
We don't know what his legs look like. We don't know, But I imagine Victor still looks like he's 25.
Yeah.
The quality of his skin is just ridiculous.
Like butter.
Yeah.
Man. Well, I think we'll wrap it up, guys. So we decided we'll keep the 212 division for now. Yeah, we're going to keep it around. Yeah, it's okay. It's a viable division. It needs to exist. There's a lot of athletes who really need that division to have somewhere to compete. And if we take it away, we're going to lose a lot of athletes. And nobody really wants that. The federation doesn't want that. The athletes don't want that. I don't think many of the fans want that either. So it's just one of these silly talking points. People like to just talk about things that aren't going to come to any fruition. But
yeah, this all started with that damn elite priest. He's making get rid of that damn 212 because back when he competed, they didn't have that 212. He didn't have that option.
What?
But imagine if they had started it back then with Labrada, Sean Ray. There would have been some amazing 212 guys back then.
That's something I want to ask you. That's something I brought up on the forum, the MD forum the other day. I said, imagine if the 212 because someone said Porter Cottrell was 205 on stage when he was winning the night champions.
Yep.
Well, he turned pro as a middleweight, right?
No, light
heavy. Guys like Thierry Pastel. I mean, throw some names from what you know from the guys of the 90s. If the 212 class had been around then, like you said, Lee Creed, Sean Ray, who else?
Infado.
Who? Infado.
Francis Benfado.
Yeah, shit.
It had to be well under 212.
Great.
There are a lot of them.
John Sherman.
Yeah.
John
Henderson Thorne.
Oh, what about Ron, my man from New York? His wife was just up here training at Jim Hub.
Caprice.
Caprice.
Okay. Oh, Joe was up?
Nuts.
Yeah.
He had arms, legs. His waist was as small as Clarita's.
Yeah, he missed that division by like 3 years, I think.
Yeah.
Caprice Murray was awesome.
Oh, bloody hell. Forgot about him. The guy with the... he was like a little Burke, wasn't he? Like,
They called him the Black Lee Priest.
He was amazing. I forgot about him.
Jacked. Huge arms and legs.
Yeah,
Tiny little...
Nothing of those guys.
Yeah.
He did like Rich Kaspari. Kaspari would have been a 212. They had it. And if there was any money in it, Yeah.
So, all right, guys. Well, this has been an interesting conversation. And Jose, we could not have had this level of conversation about this topic without your input. So I thank you so much for joining us. Instead of, I was thinking about making this a Boston No Way Jose show, but I'm like, we need Giles to weigh in on this too. I think this would be a great topic for the three of us.
Giles has good questions.
He does. He's good.
Even though they suck, he has good questions.
Do you know what? Sometimes I know what the reaction's going to be. Like the 222, I knew because you said on the forum once, you went, "I hate that Nigerian styles." So I remembered that. That's why I brought it up to you because I wanted to see your reaction.
It was a whole setup, Giles.
Yeah, too many good guys that are in the 225 area.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, well, guys, I want you to follow Jose on his Instagram. It's the Boston Mass with 2 E's, and on YouTube, he has an awesome channel called The Boston Mass. Does a lot of podcasts, gym tours, all kinds of crazy stuff. A lot of it with our buddy Nate Tello, who owns Gym Hub in Boston, the best gym in Boston. If you're coming to our area, you got to go to Gym Hub. And that's it.
Centipani circles.
10 Centipani circles on
A Telegram.
Telegram. I keep seeing Telegram. It's like an app or something. I don't know. These crazy.
We're all on there. There's Milos is on there. Jay Cutler, Flex Lewis, Edwin Centipani, Juji Mufu, Antoine Valliere, Chris Tuttle, myself, Guy Sistanito, Frank McGrath. Wow, there's like a dozen of us on there now.
All the undesirables.
Jay Cutler. Did I say Jay Cutler?
No, jeez. Talk
Yeah.
about stars, yeah. So that is Centipani Circles on Telegram.
Yes.
So check that out.
Lee Priest.
Lee Priest.
Lee Priest is on there all day long.
Wow. And of course, I have to make sure everyone knows you have to watch MD Global Muscle, the best interview show, even better than the Ron Line Report, I think. Well, you got an awesome studio and kick-ass guests. He just had William Bonack and help me out, Charles. My mind's going crazy now. It was Bonack and who was Samson Dowder was your last two guests? Were your last two guests? Yeah, you've been on a tear lately. He had Andrew Jack on the week before that.
Andrew Jack. I can't wait to see that.
So MD Global Muscle.
Zach said he's going to, after the Arnold, he's going to come back up to the studio.
Oh, gosh. Yeah, Zach Kahn. If you haven't seen that episode with Zach Kahn, I could listen to Zach Kahn for hours. He is hilarious. He's hard to understand. He's got a very thick accent, and I think his tongue is very large. But still, if you really focus, you can understand what he's saying.
Ladies love him.
Very popular with the ladies.
I knew it. All right. And that is a great note to end it on. Cunnilingus jokes. Good Lord. All right, guys. Thank you for watching. Sorry, Dan. We're sorry, but, it's year 2. We got to be a little edgy. So that's it for another awesome episode of MD Power Hour with Giles Tiger Thomas and special guest Jose Raymond, the Boston Mass. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you right here next time.
We're going to train arms now.
Hey, did you like that video? Smash that like button, subscribe to MD, and please comment down below. Thanks for watching.